Welcome to the Build Your Beautiful Business podcast with your host, Julie C. Butler. If you're looking to build the business of your dreams, then this is the space you want to be in. Join Julie as she talks about ways that you can successfully scale your profitable dream business, one that will give you ultimate time freedom and the abundant lifestyle you deserve. Julie will take you by the hand, sharing with you her business savvy strategies as she chats it up with her favorite online entrepreneurs. You'll get a weekly dose of boosted confidence as you learn as they reveal their insight, tips, and tools that you need to start building a profitable dream business of your own, one that you'll love and that works for you on autopilot.
Hello, and welcome back to the show. Today we have with us the beautiful Carol Hampshire, all the way from South Africa. For over 30 years, Carol has been scaling brands and designing websites for thousands of innovative entrepreneurs worldwide. Her superpower is the ability to infuse your essence into your brand and combine it with success strategy that amplifies your impact for ultimate time and financial freedom. Hi, Carol. How are you today?
I am awesome, Julie. How are you doing?
I'm good. We were just chatting before I hit the record button, and it's very, very hot in South Africa where Carol is, right?
It is. Well, everyone is dealing with snow and cold weather.
Right.
I've got sweltering heat here. So
hence the beautiful Carol in a ponytail.
Yeah, you don't often see me in a pony today, but it's super hot.
I'm so happy to have you on the show. And I love everything you are and who you are. And I just love how you're so, first of all, I love your energy, and I love how you are so helpful in the in the brand world.
Thank you. This is, my purpose is to help people get online, get their brand out, and get them to stand out from the crowd. That's my purpose. So if I can do that and help somebody to do that,
yes,
and to create more conversions in their business so that they can get their goals, all the better for me.
I know. And, I always say it, but like, really, we are better together, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very much so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So today I love it because we're going to talk about the power of storytelling and branding. And I think that's so important. But before we dive into that, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
So sure. I design brands, and I've been doing this for the last 30 years. Now, I worked in corporate for 4 years. I started my own business because I could not handle having a boss. So I started my business in 1996. So I've had quite a long time to learn how brands think, how consumers, psychology of buying, and obviously visual branding as well. So that's what I help people with. It's visual branding, messaging, how to get your brand out there. Any way that I can, I'll help you to do that.
I love it. But I know that we're incorporating storytelling into that, right? And so I love, I think that it makes it less boring. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Yeah. And it makes it so that it's a little bit also more like we're humans, right? And it makes it more relatable.
Yeah. So that's the difference between having a corporate brand, perhaps, and a personal brand. It's a topic that not many people think about when they are branding themselves, how to create a story around their brand, because the most important part of creating a brand is to create the connection with somebody. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people forget this. People that are perhaps starting out in the beginning phase of their brand are probably concerned about what color palette to use or what fonts and what their logo looks like and the symbolism of their logo, and they're not doing the things that they should do. So even and you'll find that people that have a more established brand know how to brand themselves very well, and they do this through storytelling. So I've seen the progression of how brands develop and grow and how they scale. And if you are wanting to scale quickly, use storytelling in your brand. That is more important than the visual branding. And it's actually, I would say, even more important than your website design. And that's a lot coming from me because I am also a web designer.
I
as
know,
well.
I know. And me too. I'm all about the look and everything, right? But I know the importance of this. So
Yes.
for the people listening and they're like, well, what does that even mean, storytelling in my brand? Like, so I'll let you explain that, because I'm sure there's some people who are like, they kind of know what it is, but they don't really know what to do and or what it is.
So I'm going to start by saying what it's not.
Ooh.
Storytelling isn't about telling people what you do and how you do it. And that's the biggest mistake that we all make. Every one of us has started out. So I could start by saying, hi, I'm Carol. I'm a web designer and I can design in these programs and I can do 5 pages for you, blah, blah, blah. And you'd be like, thank you. That's really great. Like, and right. And so what it really is sharing the why you do something. And you'll see in my intro to this conversation, I was sharing with you why I do what I do, because I want to see brands succeed. Now, by leading with that, it's a more powerful brand story versus me just saying what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So Simon Sinek says it very well, where he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And in essence, that is what storytelling is about. It's conveying why you do things. Not only that, it gives a glimpse into your life. So we can go a little bit more in detail about that. So what I like to do with my clients is that I take them through a process.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 things are really important when I do this. The first thing is asking my clients about their story. What made them start their business? And I just got off a call with a client today and I was helping her with the branding. And this is a classic example of an incredible story, because she was telling me about her business and she's been in business for 20 years and she's really good at yoga and mindfulness and she does all the things and she's got all the degrees, very, very highly experienced. But I'm like, hold on, how did this happen? She says she had a yoga class many, many years ago. And that one yoga class completely changed her mind, where for the first time in her life, she really became mindful of her body, of her existence, of her being. She was living in New York at the time, crazy rush lifestyle, grind, living in the grind, in a relationship that she was not happy with. And within 6 weeks, because of that one yoga class, she completely changed her life. She left the city, she ended the relationship that she was with, and she started the path to become an incredibly highly trained individual in all of these wellness modalities. Now, that is an incredible story.
Okay.
Right? That is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't think about that, right? Like we don't think about telling the how we got to where we are because we're so focused on the future that but the success, how we can gain success in our businesses is also by telling how we got, why we chose to do what we do now, and how we got to where we are now, and things that, like, I think that it was in conversation with you and maybe like a few books that I've read recently that kind of like, okay, like this is something that we can incorporate in our businesses, that it's like more relatable maybe. Right?
That's exactly it. We want to be relatable to our exact target market.
Okay.
So the person who is watching my client on social media or coming across a website for the first time is going to pick up on the feelings that my client had at that exact time. The feeling of discontent, the feeling of frustration, of anger. And knowing that my client in those years has then transformed her body and her mind and her being and her whole life to one of incredible empowerment. So that potential customer is more likely to buy from her because she's a real person with a real success story. And that means more to her than anything else. So another exercise that I like to take people through is the I want. If you can get into your client's mind and ask them, what do they want? So that client could be, I want peace. I want the chaos. I want the chaos to stop. I want things to be simple again. I want us to feel again. You can imagine this is someone who's probably in near burnout, someone who is struggling, trying to keep up, trying to do what everyone else is wanting them to do, trying to fill the shoes of everybody else and forgetting what their purpose is and what they want to do. So that is directly tuned to that specific client, to my client, to that customer, to my client. So when you do that exercise, it opens up a whole world of messaging and marketing to that right exact person.
So content creation.
And content creation. You have got so many ideas there. So an idea could be a carousel post for my client. Are you ready to stop the chaos? Versus going into a post that is just about, these are the poses that we are doing with yoga, or these are some mindfulness exercises. Nothing wrong with that. But I think before you go into teaching, you need to go into the hook mode. You've got to get a hook. You've got to grab your audience in a way that really feels aligned to them and create that connection. Hence, in any kind of whatever industry you are in, this will work for you. It doesn't matter if you are web design or parenting coach or wellness or podcast host, it doesn't matter. There is always a hook there that you can find through your own story and bring that through, tie that in, and people will listen. People will pause and find out more about you. This is the big secret. So that's storytelling. This is one aspect of storytelling, and I'd love to share some more, but that's one aspect that anyone can do right now in their business and be a lot more vulnerable with their sharing as well.
Vulnerable. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because sometimes we get into that in our heads and into that fear mode of, well, people don't want to know my story. People don't want to know my back end story. And this is so not true, right?
Exactly. So there's different kinds of stories.
Of course.
One is that I've shared with you now is the origin story, how I came about. Like I shared my origin story with you. I've been peppering in those little nuggets in our conversation where I mentioned that I worked for 4 years as corporate, and then I started my business in 1996. That's my origin story. That's kind of why I did it, because I knew I didn't want to work for a boss. I wanted to work for myself, and I want to empower people. And then there's other kinds of stories. The second one that people can use is the result story. And this is the results that you have created in your business through working with other people. So how have you transformed other people's lives? That's still part of storytelling. You're telling the story. Like I was telling the story about my client and how she learned from me. That is part of me storytelling to your audience and to you in the results story. The result of working with me is getting a clearer message as well. So anyone can use that in their business as well. Again, don't worry too much about the visuals right now or the web branding, anything like that. That kind of story makes translates into results.
And however little, small or big, right? Like it doesn't matter. Everything matters. Like whether it's just a small win or a big win, or whether, your story, you think your story, your origin story might not be interesting, but there are people out there that will relate to it, that it will inspire and all that stuff. I love it. I love it. And so we're talking about this now, like storytelling. How do we share these stories?
A good way to do that is through video. Like
Okay.
this is a great platform that you've created. Podcast is a great way. Going on to actual Instagram stories, creating a TikTok. I think that sometimes you can obviously do carousel stories as well, but I think to me, it needs to come visually aligned with the person, like actually seeing somebody, seeing their story and seeing how they have grown and sharing other people's the success of their clients as well, no matter how big or small. But the more we can connect, the underlying intention here is about authentic connection and making you relatable, so that the more relatable you are, the better. I have a client who is a relationship coach. So she has 2 young sons, and she will never run out of content because the kids are always coming up with things, funny things to talk about. Obviously, managing a business, a marriage, and 2 young boys is a task in itself. So she will share often daily on her life and what's going on. So even though we might think it's completely mundane, it's not. How she's writing it is incredibly insightful, and the lesson she's then weaving through her conversations with us will then position her as that expert, just through storytellings on sharing some silly things that happened every day throughout her life. That is an incredibly powerful tool, and that is what got her business from 0 clients to being fully booked, by just being relatable to parents in the same shoes that she has. Because people were like, I get it, you get what I'm needing right now, and look how you're succeeding. So let me enroll in one of your programs or one-on-one coaching with you so I can have the same results.
Right. And so stories, so what goes on in your daily life can become part of your storytelling as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's another aspect to that. So
I love it.
I'm giving so many ideas here about storytelling. The other thing is about just generally your life, even though they don't necessarily have to be a part of your brand story. So one of the things that I do quite often in my brand, and that, is that I love the ocean and I love dolphins. So you will see a lot of that coming through in my brand. In fact, I'm wearing, and my dogs. And in fact, I'm wearing my kind of mermaid like outfit today to show you that this is what I actually wear when I am seeing clients. In the background, you can see I've got a mermaid painting in the background. And these are part of my brand story as well. It's what is very close to my heart, and it means something to me as well.
And I know that you do this so well. So like, if you're listening to Carol and you're like, if you want to see how she does this, I really encourage you to follow her on Instagram, because you'll see exactly what she's talking about now. You preach, you do, how do you say that? You do what you preach. Right. And I love that because following you and seeing how you do the storytelling, and you incorporate that in your brand, and then you share stories of your clients, but you share also your stories, you share also, your origin story, and you encompass everything, right? So it's a really good way of seeing how you do, because I mean, you're teaching about this and you're telling us, but also if we follow you, we can see exactly how you do it, right? And be inspired by, and now, go and do our own version of it.
Exactly. And another thing is that you mentioned my dog. So Jack is one of my dogs, and he features quite prominently in my stories as well. So he's a character in my story. And the thing is, all of these things, you're right, it makes me real. It gives me soul. And I've used these unconsciously, actually, for a long time in my brand and in my on social media, and that is how I got to multiple 6 figures. So even before our conversation, I was saying I haven't had a chance to post everything for a while. I've been so busy, I'm booked out, and that is why I believe that I have the success that I have. People ask me, how do you get all of these clients? And the truth is, I do think that storytelling is part of that. People don't realize that. It's because that I'm a real person. I care about your business. You're not just buying a web designer, because there are literally millions of web designers and really good ones out there.
Yeah.
Why come to me? Why come to me? It's because you are working with almost like a friend, because
yes, this is true.
You know me, you know my values, you know what I stand for. You know that they are like this. I value integrity, I value expertise, I value quality. So you know that those things are high on my list. And subconsciously, anyone who is looking at my social media will see that and get a sense of who I am, what my character is like, and be easier to then hire me.
Because the thing is we don't have to participate in the, and if that's who you are, that's awesome. But if you are not the person who wants to sell every day, right? Like, I mean, we need to like somehow have call to actions all the time. I understand that, but I don't want to be like, buy my thing, like every single day, buy my thing, buy my thing, buy my thing. By doing this, right, then people are generally just genuinely intrigued by you, and they're going to follow the path that brings them to purchase from you or to know more about you. And then when you do make that offer, which is, you know, we consistently have to make offers. People are like, yes, I want to buy from Carol because I feel like I already know her. Like, I feel like I've been on your boat and I've been on your yacht having a drink with you, swimming with the dolphins, right? Because you share that so much that I feel that connection with you. And so it's a no-brainer. Well, yes, I want to do this with Carol, right? And so we can bring our businesses to the next level by doing this, right? Rather than sell, right? By showing up, then we maybe don't have to sell as much. We still have to sell, but that makes the transaction easier between the consumer and you.
And it's authentic. I mean, the people that I work with are authentic, incredible people that I would like to spend a weekend with, because that's the big game changer for me. Someone said to me many years ago, would you spend a weekend with your clients? And I was like, no ways. I was working on, job sites, and I was like, no, I wouldn't. And then I changed my business. That was the big shift for me, because I know that every single one of my clients, I would do a weekend retreat with them. They are so incredible and I adore them. So this is, and we're talking about selling. The thing is that we need to sell ourselves.
I love that.
It costs nothing to sell ourselves. We don't need a logo. We don't need a website. We just have to have ourselves, and obviously an offer. There's a ratio of about 80% sharing ourselves, and then maybe 20% asking for a sale. And that kind of ratio works really well. And even if you are, like, every now and again, I'll write a really personal post, even though it is kind of embarrassing for me to admit some of my faults. But the amount of response I get out of those posts is so heartwarming. It's just genuine. Like, hundreds of people will literally, not hundreds, about 100 or so would comment on a post I did on Facebook, for example. And they would never do that had I said, hey, I've got this thing, buy now. People don't engage as much.
It's true.
So if there's a life changing event, or if it's something quirky that I've got to share, or a little story about my life that's a bit crazy, and I like to push myself as well. So I like to do things in my life that are a little bit out of the norm. And people know that. Like, I'm known for that. Just keep quiet. And every now and again, hey, I'm doing this thing, I'm doing that thing. And then all these comments. And that just helps with the engagement. It does help with the engagement. Another spin-off on that is what you're wanting to do is to create a network of people who know what you are good at. So that when there is someone who's saying, I'm needing this thing, I'm needing a parenting coach. I'm struggling with my kids. I'm needing a web designer. My brand is terrible. I'm needing a wellness coach. I'm hoping that my name would come to the front because there's a association with seeing me, liking me, and then recommending me to other people. So that happens quite often. People will come to me and they say, this person has recommended me, and I've never encountered that person in my life one-on-one. It's just through social media. It's just through who I'm being online. So this is an invitation to anyone listening, is to really be more of yourself. And that's why they say branding is just about be more you.
Yes. And that's why it's important to marry the two. And it's important that people know what you do, right? Because you're saying people refer you all the time because you're building this connection, and you're building a connection with people so that also they know and they will recommend you, because we show up online as our authentic selves, and people fall in love with us, and then they want to recommend us. But so that's why it's so important that people know what we do, right? So in our storytelling, I think it's important to showcase what it is that we do, and incorporate in that stories from our clients, testimonials, and all that good stuff, right?
Totally, 100%.
Yeah, I love that.
So this is how valuable creating a story in your brand can be. It can literally double your income, like immediately.
And you've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen also it happen to other entrepreneurs as well, right? That you've either worked with or have had in your community, your audience and stuff.
It's totally, and that's why when you look at some of the people who are the bigger brands that are out there, what's going on in their lives. You actually do. If you think about someone right now, someone maybe that you follow, someone who's an 8-figure brand, I can guarantee what kind of house they're living in, where it is in the world, what their family situation is like, what their living room is like, because you've been into their lives. They've actually given you a glimpse into their lives. It's not just about selling. It's not just about selling. It's about selling the dream of who they are as well.
And we can share as much or as little as we want, right? Because I know that there's some people don't share, they don't particularly care to share maybe photos of their children or their personal life, but you can still so for those people who are like, they don't want to share, the husband and the children, on social media, how can we incorporate that into our storytelling so that people still know that we have because I don't really like, my husband doesn't like social media. He hates it. He doesn't want to be on it. That means not on my profile either. Right. But I'm like, so how can it be easy for us to share those things without actually sharing them?
Good question. So I would take other things that you are comfortable sharing. So there's also areas of my life that I'm not comfortable sharing, but I will share things about Jack, my dog, my houseboat, my travel plans, my hopes and dreams. So you can decide, and you can actually, someone who's listening can maybe write down 3 or 4 things. It doesn't have to be a lot of things, and decide what things that what does set you apart. Now, living in South Africa does set me apart from the rest of the world. Most of the people are in the US. So this is quite a bit of a novelty. So I will show people my weather, what I'm doing, and the lifestyle here. So if someone says to themselves, I've got nothing special, maybe you live in a most beautiful location that we don't know about. Maybe you absolutely love going on hikes. Maybe you love crocheting or doing something that is completely different. Everyone, even cooking, even cooking, it doesn't matter. Everyone has got something that they really genuinely love, and they don't mind sharing that.
Awesome. And I mean, a lot of us have pets, right? Like we see that's a very common thing to share. I mean, I have 3 dogs, I think, which is uncommon, and not a lot of people have 3 dogs. I think like for the majority, people have 1 or 2. I think you have 2. So yeah, so I think that, you know, finding those little things that, you know, and not being ashamed of that either, right? Like just because maybe you don't want to share, you know, photos, private photos of your family, right? Your children, your husband, whatever, and that's totally okay. Like you choose what you want to share, right? And there's no shame in it, and there's no it doesn't make you less better than the mom that shares, you know, TikToks of like the five or 10. I saw one with 10 children the other day. I'm like, oh, God help me. But that's beautiful, right? It's the beauty and making us who we are, no matter what we share. It doesn't matter. We are all unique and special and extraordinary. And whatever those things are that you will find that you're going to share about are going to be exactly what your audience wants from you.
Yeah. I think we really love glimpsing into other people's lives. And you know, things like dogs or the nature is just, it helps us. It's just such a nice thing to experience when we're on social media, right? Versus just, like you said, buy here, do this. Like, we don't want to be bombarded all the time. We want to be invited into someone's life. So another aspect of storytelling is inviting people in. It's becoming they talk about magnetic branding. It's about drawing people into your brand versus being, it's a more feminine approach as well, versus the more bro marketing, masculine way, which is a lot more putting yourself out there. And there's a bit of both. There has to have a bit of balance between the feminine and the masculine way of doing things. But storytelling is definitely a more passive approach. But I can guarantee, as we are marketing to potentially more women, if you are a woman listening to this, we're potentially marketing ourselves to other women generally. So that helps open up our markets like substantially. And I think that it is a game. I stand behind that. This is a game changer in changing your business, as putting storytelling at the front of your brand.
And what do we have to lose anyway, right? Like, give it a go, give it a try. But you are right. Like, I prefer buying from a person versus buying from, you know, a website. Like, typically when I purchase a program, a course, or whatever that case might be, like I've worked with you before, right? Like, I mean, because I knew you, right? Because I had a glimpse into your life, not because what your website looked like, although you do have a nice website and you do have an amazing template shop. I will give you that. So if you're listening and you're on the market for some beautiful website templates and Canva templates as well, Carol has that. But you did for me a brand brilliance session, which was incredible. And you helped me so much with my brand messaging. But one thing that stood out to me that you said during our conversation was, speak to the heart. Yes.
Speak to the heart. Speak to the heart. Another thing that might come up, people might be wondering, but what if I'm not a loud personality? What if I don't want to show my fancy handbag, or I don't have a fancy handbag, or what about that personality? Maybe
that's a good one.
Someone's a bit quieter. Maybe they are more reserved or an introvert. Now, I am actually a terrible introvert. Terrible as in, I do really struggle with a lot of putting myself out there. I really do. So I am an introvert. And the thing is, you will probably match your client's energy with yours. So someone who perhaps has a louder personality and has maybe red fingernails and, you know, she's pretty loud, will probably attract a similar kind of character and energy. And that's okay. If you are more quieter, like I am as well, a little bit more of a quieter brand, you will attract those people into your brand. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be something you're not. I am not going to go and do things just because someone else is doing them and she's getting
Start dancing
the
on a
results.
TikTok, Carol.
I touch
It's so,
wood,
I know it's so
I've
not
never
who you
done-
are.
not do I. But there are other people that do that.
Yes, yes.
So, and that's totally okay. You've got to find your group, but please, as a word of advice, don't look to other people
Mhm.
and don't try and copy what they're doing.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. And even if you are looking on TikTok, some of the best brands and the most popular are ones with people that are just genuinely talking
Mhm.
to the camera. They are not made up, totally. They are just being raw. They're just sharing their lives. And I like to mention TikTok because that is obviously a video platform, and you do get a glimpse into people's lives there. I think more so than any other platform. So it's definitely a way that you could start if someone wants to start doing that. And probably it's a huge market that I think is completely untapped right now.
Mhm.
So that might be something that someone might like to consider about storytelling and bringing people into their lives.
I've seen a lot of storytelling on TikTok, like that's big, and then you can bring them into like onto your other platforms.
Yeah.
You will not see me there. Me and TikTok don't jive.
Yeah.
I go to hang out once in a while, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Or if someone sends me one. But like a few minutes ago when you talked about, if we don't have the nice handbags, or if we don't have the collection of 50 pairs of shoes, or even the nice nails, like I'm not a nail person, right?
Yeah, me neither.
But that really doesn't matter, because we can use that in our stories, right? I saw that last week and I was like, girl, I'm with you, right? She shared about how she's not into fancy cars. She drives like a normal regular car. She's not into fancy clothes. She's not into fancy. She loves her ripped jeans and her, you know what I mean? And I resonated with that because I am that person. Even if I had $1 million in my bank account, this is how Julie would look, because that's who I am. And I do like nice things, but I don't need the Louis Vuitton handbag or the 50 pairs of shoes. I like my plain old Under Armour flip-flops, black, because they don't hurt my feet, and I'm leggings and oversized shirts like Julie. That's Julie, whether I have, $10 in my bank account or $1 million. It doesn't matter. That's who I am. And it doesn't mean that I can't be or am not successful because I don't portray that I have those fancy things that make it look like maybe I know what I'm talking about because I have more success. Like, this is so not true now, right? So using that in our story, I think is important, that you are the person you are, whether you have $10 or $100,000, right? Wouldn't you say?
I would agree, because it's about our values. If people have the same values, they're probably more aligned, and they will end up hiring you to work with them. So it's about different values, not better or worse, just different.
Yes.
Because I relate to that as well. I have a very, very safe car that's good mileage. I am a minimalist. I don't have a lot of things, but I do value travel. So I will spend my money on travel, and I will, where that might be something unusual. But yes, I agree. You have to just be yourself and show those values that are real and true. And something's making me share this with you is that I think it was the Oscars last night.
I didn't watch them. I don't watch Oscars or Grammys or Emmys, or I don't watch any of that stuff.
So it was interesting because I don't follow that either, but I did see something. There was a report. There was a photograph of Lady Gaga arriving, and she was obviously made up, totally beautiful, red lips, obviously spent the whole day with her glam team getting beautifully ready. And yet when she went on to sing, she had not a stitch of makeup on, and she was just in I think a gray t-shirt.
Yes.
So that goes to show that she's trying to prove a point as well.
I love
It's
that.
not,
I'm gonna have to look for that now on YouTube or something.
it's not about the glamour. It's about this, the rawness of her singing.
Mhm.
It should not matter. And for someone of that high caliber artist to go on stage in front of millions with not a stitch of makeup, I commend her. That is an incredible feat. And I think that just shows that, and I think that brings it into storytelling. We see her values. I like her more now because she did that.
I know, right? Like I'm
Right?
listening to you. Yeah, totally.
I'm
Totally.
like,
I love
girl.
that. Like even I have a few friends on Instagram that are like, this is like no filter, no makeup Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's more and more of that now because it's more relatable.
It's more
Like,
relatable.
right?
Yeah.
Like I'm in my pajama pants all day, every day because I can. And I love it. My comfortable pants and my, messy bun half the time, like I never let my hair down. And, I think that's definitely more relatable and $1 million business Julie is still going to look the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is the power of storytelling, is to make people aligned to you, relatable. And that is the most important thing. The selling is secondary. The selling will come.
Yes.
The selling will naturally be a byproduct of that. But I think the most important thing is to lead with that. Lead with connection. Lead with who you are. Lead with that vulnerability. And find your way. It might be difficult if you're just starting out to doing this, but find your way. Decide what it is you want to share your life with. And you'll see that this is going to be a huge movement in the future.
Even if you're listening to this and you're like, well, how do I start? Even if you start by sharing your morning cup of coffee, right? And then just go through your day and be like, oh, I could share this, I could share that, right? And then you'll see, like, you're just gonna come up with different things and it's just going to come to you naturally then and it's going to become routine, right?
Totally. Or else go to Instagram Reels, go to TikTok, see what people in your industry are doing. So sometimes I go and have a look and see what other web designers are doing, and they film their how they make a website design. And I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. I do that all the time. I could easily just put a camera here and film myself designing. So go and have a look and see what other people are doing, get inspired. And that does set you apart, those reels that you can make, because video is the key now. Gone are the days of just writing a post and expecting there to be a lot of feedback. It's different now. The market is extremely tough right now. And you have to be ahead of the crowd. You have to do things that are different, that are unique to you, and you have to tell your story.
It's just so easy to resonate with someone when they're talking on a YouTube, or not YouTube, but Instagram story, for example, when we hear their voice, when we see their lips move, right? And it doesn't have to be a 10-minute video. It can honestly be like a 30-second, hey, I got up this morning and I'm like, made my cup of coffee and I'm going to sit down. This is my routine, the end. Like that's all it can be, right? Like you can start little. And I just say to that, like, it takes 30 seconds of courage. And there's no excuse now because there's all kinds of filters, right? On Instagram, there's all kinds of really good filters that put makeup on you and eyelashes and lip gloss and everything. Like, so you can't use that as an excuse.
There's no excuse. And I think my invitation is to just put yourself out a little bit more. I think it's about, don't wait until you feel ready. Action will shift that emotion. So do the action, do something, and then you will start feeling easier about it the next time. But don't wait until you feel that this is the right time. Just go and do it, and don't take it too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take your business too seriously. Because the more lighthearted you can be, I promise you, that is what people are wanting. People are wanting to come onto social media. They're wanting to be entertained in a way. They want to relax, and they want to connect.
Yeah.
So be open to that. Be open to connecting to new people and call people out. Say something like, instead of go to my website, say to people, I'd love to chat to you on the DMs, like reach out to me. I genuinely want to talk to you. I'm not going to sell you anything. I want to hear about who you are. And it just opens up the conversation when you invite people into your world without a hidden agenda. It will increase the sales. It just does. Where there's no
It really
agenda.
does. It really does. Yeah. I mean, that could be a whole training in itself, like building relationships with other biz besties, right? But that, like, this is such good information and I love it. Did you want to close in closing to this conversation, or was that it? Was that your wrap up?
I think that's my parting words is don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. There are people out there that really need your help, and they need your help, not your competitors, yours. And they're waiting for you. They're waiting for you.
And so for goodness sakes, don't overthink it. Just do it,
just
right?
Do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today. So, Carol, if someone's listening to this and they're like, I love this chick, I want to know more, where can they find you and how can they work with you?
Well, please find me on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way to find me, Carol Hampshire. And then I've got obviously links that can take you to the various places in my world. But again, I invite anyone to just come and say hi too. Hey, I listened to the podcast and this is what I thought about it. That's okay too. Just
we love that.
I just love to hear from people all over the world. So.
I know. So do I. I'm going to put your links in the show notes, obviously. But you also have an amazing brand clarity workbook for them too, right?
I do. So if you're needing some clarity on your brand, apart from storytelling, there is storytelling in there as well. But if you wanted to get clarity on what sets you apart, how to message that, please download my free workbook. It really is very insightful. I've had so many people download it and it's very, very popular.
I love it. I've downloaded it. It's beautiful. It's amazing workbook. I love everything you do. It's amazing. So
thank you.
So I think everybody should have this. Thank you so much, Carol. It's been so nice chatting with you. And well, I can't wait to connect again. I mean, me and you, we keep into each other's lives on Instagram anyways, right? Like I know before when we first got on this call, it was like, oh, I see you don't look like you're working. You look like you're traveling all the time. Meanwhile, she's really busy.
I'm really busy, but I've got some lovely travel plans. So if you want to see where I'm going, come to Instagram. All will be revealed soon.
Amazing. Thanks again, Carol.
Thank you, Julie, for everything.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Build Your Beautiful Business podcast. If you did, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Julie's included a link in the shows to make it nice and easy for you. And if you want to create a beautiful, profitable business of your own, make sure to go unlock your access to Julie's 6 must-have resources for female entrepreneurs. These resources will help you build and grow your business with simplicity and ease. You can find them at juliecbutler.com/freebie vault. We'll see you in the next episode.